right, I am calling the select board to order. It's 7 o'clock. We are all in person, which is great. I'm gonna go over the meeting real quick. We have public comment, we have liaison town manager reports. We have vote in-person early voting on Saturday. Kind of got something that overlooked from last time. Vote to approve the ReWorld waste disposal contract, formerly Covanta. That's just our disposal contract, not the pickup contract. Master plan and capital projects priorities discussion. Pleasant Street Center discussion. Vote to appoint town accountant for another term from July 25 to June 26. Future agenda and meeting minutes. And I know there's a lot in the room, but 3 weeks from today, we have an election, a local election, and hopefully it won't happen, but we don't want any political comments or any campaigning by anyone for public comment. And so as part of that, there's some good news and bad news. Bad news is RCTV is not doing a forum. But the good news is that the Reading Democratic Town Committee and the Reading Republican Town Committee are doing a joint forum. I believe it's next Wednesday at the library. And also Reading Recap is also doing a forum on Monday, both the school committee and for a select board. So at least the candidates will get to an opportunity to put themselves out there and address some questions, and a lot of people get to meet them. So that's good. And then so public comment. Oh, anyone signed in? If you want to speak, that'd be great. How many want to do public comment? One. All right.
Your podium is much taller than the last one. Vanessa Alvarado, I am here as a representative from the Reading Democratic Town Committee, and I'm here with my counterpart,
Eric Bergstrom, and I chair the Reading Republican Town Committee.
And as Carlo mentioned, we have stepped in to co-host the official candidate forum for this year's election. All of the candidates have confirmed their attendance for next Wednesday. The select board will be at 6 p.m. and the school committee will be at 7:30. So more details to follow, but they will be live streamed on RCTV and YouTube. So really excited to present this opportunity for the community.
Yes, and we're looking forward to it too. We're looking forward to hearing from all the candidates. It's great to have the full participation of everyone, so.
Yeah, great. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's great. Anyone else in the room? Only once? Nope. Jackie, anyone on Zoom?
There are no hands on Zoom.
Right, great. Chris, liaison reports?
Thanks, Carlo. Well, not an official meeting. Melissa, myself, Matt, Jane, Sharon, Chris Cole, and Michael Smith from Representative Jones' office attended the MWRA Advisory Board entrance fee meeting last week that went over resident Paul Silva, his letter that he ended up sending to the MWRA regarding our entrance fee of $10.9 million and why he feels, as well as the town as a whole, should be returned to Reading. More specifically, our buy-in from the MWRA was done before they changed the rules in 2022 that is waiving buy-in fees going forward. About 5 or 6 cities and towns bought in back in 2002 or 2008, and Reading accounted for about 45% of the total entrance fees paid to the MWRA since inception. Which obviously is not fair to Reading in the slightest. I understand they have their arguments for infrastructure and everything else. But more importantly, they gave us the opportunity to speak freely. They took us out of order on the meeting, which was very gracious of them without us asking. And, it was a good back and forth and letting everybody participate and speak, and I think the overall tone and feel from the meeting, I came away being hopeful that something is going to be done regarding this, whether it's the whole 11 million, a portion, whatever it is. Just seeing a resident go that far, for me, to make a difference in this town is pretty incredible. That's not a slight to anybody else, because like I said, this stuff predates everybody for the most part. But you can watch that meeting online from the MWRA. I highly suggest you watch it just to see more of the vernacular that's going on with this. But listen, our water rates are one of the highest in the state, and anything that's going to help that is a benefit that we can all agree on. And then the school building committee briefly met. We approved, how much was it? 500,000, an extension for BH&A to continue going forward, doing the design, so we can still have the vote on May 13th as scheduled with a special election for Killam and Recal, but they get to continue, and that comes with a cost savings if the town, as well as town meeting, supports it. Otherwise, we're having an election regardless. So that was covered at Killam. And that's it. Thanks.
Karen?
Sure. So actually this morning, the Mass Municipal Fiscal Committee met today, and one of the good items that came out of it is that the House and the Senate have agreed on a 27-month extension to the hybrid meeting capabilities. So they are expecting the Senate to vote yes on it tomorrow, and to be on the governor Thursday, and then be on the governor's desk as well, to give us at least 27 more months of the way we've been operating. And the world could be vastly different then, but I for one think that we're all used to working in a hybrid environment. I think it's still pretty critical to effective government. So there was that. There was a lot of talk about federal dollars being cut to this Commonwealth and how that's going to impact us. Specifically, the state depends on federal Medicare funds for a huge amount of the budget, so they are very worried about that. If those funds were to not arrive in Commonwealth, we would not have enough money in our rainy day fund to take care of that, so that would be pretty awful. So they'll just keep an eye on that. Senator Comerford is a lead on the bill before the House to establish a municipal and safety building authority like the school building authority, which would be wonderful for communities looking to build senior centers, new fire stations, things like that. So that is certainly something that everyone can reach out to our delegation and say, yes, we need help bringing our buildings up to code for population changes, for accessibility reasons, for a whole host of reasons. We could use the support, so that's good news. A smaller bill that was similar to that, but not exactly, was on their agenda last time, but it is again before our delegation this spring. And then there are some municipal bond tax benefits discussion in process. So we don't pay taxes when we borrow municipal bonds. So that's a huge benefit for towns and communities, and it's just kind of an issue that is emerging. In general, no one would like that benefit to go away, so we're going to hope that that doesn't change, but that's something we will be keeping an eye on. So that's what I got. Thank you.
Mark?
Thanks, Carlo. So two things. One, the trust fund commissioners met last Tuesday. Two things of import. One is this board asked if they would come on April 1st, which is on our agenda, to present some information on the various funds. That's confirmed. So Neil Cohen, the chair, will be in attendance, and probably other members as well. Second is that as part of the course of business, we dedicated the available funds for scholarships, for Reading Scholarship Foundation and others. And as board members are aware, there was a new scholarship fund that was established that I think Matt sent a note out about, which is the David Savio Law Enforcement Scholarship Fund. So that was approved, and per the request, funds were set aside for this year, starting this year. So that's in place already. So that's really nice to see that that's happening.
So the trust funds committee is going to handle that?
Administer.
How
Yep.
many scholarships do they have?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
just
7,
testing
8,
you. Look at
9,
that. You
10,
got the
11,
answer.
12,
Awesome.
13, 14, 15, 16 that we allocated funds to last Tuesday. So those are funds that exist, and essentially the commissioners need to go by the wishes of the donors. And then there are certain expendable balances, and you'll hear more about this next week, or in 2 weeks when Neil comes in to talk.
Yeah, great.
And then the second meeting was the Permanent Building Committee, which I was not able to attend on Monday, so I'm gonna count on Matt to provide an update on the discussion from that one, if I could.
So we had the permit building committee had met last night. We had gone over some scheduling things. You know, we're pretty much on schedule for everything. You know, talked again about things like one of the issues that keeps on coming up is whether the building needs to be a shelter and whether it needs a commercial kitchen. And so I'm going to provide some more information from the fire chief on that. Right now, that's in the budget for the building. So we're moving forward. We have plenty of outreach efforts. We have next week, 2 forums, one at night and one in the morning. It's sort of a coffee and conversation forum to get people to know more about the project. And we talked about that last night as well. And also, I'll mention in my report too, but we're on track to have the forum in April to bring together both projects and to talk to town meeting members about both projects there. So that was pretty much the gist of the meeting last night. I don't know if you have anything to add to it, Jane, read there?
Yeah, it sat right
I
across from me.
forgot, I don't know.
I didn't
and
send
that's
you
just that.
stuff. No, we're getting ready. We talked about the calculator that we're putting together, so we've hired someone to help us with that. It'll be hosted externally, and it's similar to the Nantucket model, so people can check which particular project they want to know how it will impact their taxes.
So that's probably worth speaking about just a little bit more. So we know about it, but so the community knows more about what's going to be there. if you
Yeah,
wouldn't mind.
no, of course not. So our operations department has reached out to the vendor that built the Nantucket site. So the Nantucket site's great. You put in your valuation, we'll have an opportunity. You can look up your valuation if you don't know it.
Your home valuation, right?
Your property valuation, correct. And then you can put that valuation in and you can check, I want to know how this project will affect my taxes. I want to know how this project will affect my taxes, and then you'll see that. Or both, either one or both. So you'll be able. We'll leave that up. We're hoping to have that up. I think maybe next week it'll be up. I think it was Katie was saying, and then we'll leave that up through the election and after, so people will, depending on what may pass, they'll be able to also continue to look that information up. And we will promote that calculator in an appropriate way on our social media site and our website once it's done. So that'll be good. There was some conversation about how do we represent the portion of debt exclusion that is coming off, that is being paid off this year, right? So the library debt exclusion will be paid off, and so that will come off. And so there's some conversation about how do we build this with transparency, but also reflect that your taxes will see a small decrease as well before this increase is phased in over a couple of years. What we're really trying to go for is simplicity. The number is there, it's simple, it may be phased in because the borrowing will phase in for approved projects over 2 years, maybe, 2 to 3 years according to the CFO. So we're not going to get too deep in the weeds. We just want folks to be able to understand what it's going to be, but keep it simple and clean.
Awesome. Just to reiterate the dates just for a moment. So the Recal Public Forum is at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, March 25th at the Pleasant Street Center.
That's correct.
The daytime meeting, sure I've got it right,
Thursday.
The coffee.
Wednesday, the
20
26th at 10.
27th?
It's 26th or 27th, I have both dates.
Oh, it's the next, yeah, it's the
Sorry,
Wednesday.
it's 27th. Re-Calvin at Town Hall, 10 to 11 a.m. Thank you.
Yeah.
You are correct. And then the joint meeting proposed date right now, not the proposed date, that date is
April 2nd,
April 2nd.
Wednesday.
16th.
April 16th, yeah.
So April 16th is the Zoom only, and April 2nd is the live version.
And that promotion will be up probably tomorrow if it's not already up
Yeah,
right
I
now.
approved it today.
Yeah,
Great. And so that form is 7 p.m. at the high school?
that's
Yeah,
correct,
at
at
the
the
PAC.
PAC.
At the PAC. Great.
And that's a joint meeting?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Both projects.
Yes,
We'll be
wanted
discussing
to be
both.
clear. Okay, that's great.
We're
April
approaching
16th,
town-
both projects.
April 2nd and
Oh,
April
not
16th. Nope, both dates, both
April
dates.
16th is the Zoom.
Yeah, there's a remote only option for folks who can't make it in person or don't wanna come out at night. So it's a fully remote option. And then that's the 16th, and the second, April
That's it.
2nd is a fully in-person
Okay.
option, which will be on RCTV, but will not have a remote participation option.
Okay.
And then they can play them on RCTV as well.
Thank you, folks. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Melissa.
March 13th, school committee had a meeting. They accepted and approved the David Savio law enforcement scholarship that Mark just mentioned. It will be for high school students pursuing law enforcement or criminal justice. Reading also has a new school resource officer, Officer Mike Davis, and he started this week. And then I did attend the MWRA meeting with Chris and Matt and Jane and Chris Cole last week, and it was really interesting to hear how much Reading paid going into their entrance fee to go into the MWRA, considering there's 60 plus communities, they collected $25 million and we paid almost 11 of that, so, and only 6 communities paid entrance fees, so it's an exorbitant number. And I'm hoping, I'm positive after that meeting and hearing that they will do something and give us some sort of a refund, because we really paid a big chunk of that money.
It might be appropriate to bring this to our delegation.
They're aware. Brad Jones had a
So if he shares it with them, great.
Yep, so they are aware of the situation, so hopefully we'll get some good news on that.
That's it, all right, thank you. I attended, I think, as all of us did, or most of us, the FinCon meeting last week.
Right.
So that was helpful, and I guess they're gonna, I think we're posted for tomorrow night as well, if we want to attend, and they're gonna be voting on the budget and the town meeting warrant articles. And also, even though I can't say much, we're in the final stages of the interview process for a fire chief, and might give us an update. So that's my first foray into that, which is it's different for me, so I look forward to that. And then we'll be making that announcement in April.
Yeah, in April, it'll come before you, but you have to approve it.
Yeah, right. And that's it for me, so I'll pass it over to Matt.
Okay, great. I wanted to thank the Chamber of Commerce again for hosting Winterfest. Although it was a little rainy this year, still people were out and having a good time. So I attended that, and I also attended a legislative breakfast that was hosted by our chamber and some of the other area chambers last week, and that was very informative as well. So thank you to the Reading Chamber and all the chambers for making these events possible. A reminder, I announced this last meeting too, that we're going to be doing AV upgrades in this very select board room, and that's going to be the week of April 1st. So your April 1st meeting will be at the library. We're moving that one to the library. And that will take a week to get the AV up and running in this room, and then from there on in, it'll be perfect and for your use. So I just want to remind people on that, and we'll remind people again because people are so used to coming here for the meetings. A quick second water meter update. So far we have 83 applications. We've had 16 requests for inspections, and DPW has installed 7 meters so far. Residents who are interested, I think know by now you have to hire a plumber who will put the application on the website using our permitting section and the software, and that will be scheduled. So that's now open to all residential properties. And so the numbers have gone up a little from last meeting when I gave the last update. As Carlo mentioned, we are in the process of hiring a new fire chief. We had a very good assessment center a few weeks ago on a Friday where we put candidates through all sorts of exercises and drills, and we've narrowed it down quite a bit. So now this week we are doing some interviews. Carlo is the chair of the select board. We'll be sitting in on those along with the screening committee, and we hope to have the process finalized in early to mid-April. Chief Burns again is retiring at the end of May, so we'll have somebody on board in time. Also, as mentioned, FinCom will meet tomorrow night. They will vote on the budget and warrant articles for annual town meeting. That'll be at 7 p.m. in this room. And they've decided for special town meeting, because you're not going to close the warrant until April 1st, they are going to meet on April 2nd before the forum, just briefly, to approve those articles. They didn't want to get ahead of the select board on that, so they're going to meet right after you. And a reminder came up earlier, but most of my stuff does. The Killam Recalc Project Forum, the live forum will be on April 2nd at the PAC. The Zoom version of it will be April 16th, and we'll be having more information come out tomorrow on that, but that's been finalized. And those will be the, probably the final 2 times to put in some input regarding these projects before town meeting. And I think, not to make the meeting run longer, I think Jane had a couple updates as well, if you don't mind, so.
I just had one. I just wanted to let folks know that the trash and recycling cart rollout project is rolling right along. I'm sorry for the dad joke, and I will go to my room.
Anytime.
Operations will begin the week of April 8th, as most know. Residents will have their carts delivered right to their driveway. Each cart is serial. It's a serial number that's assigned to each property. We'll be including more information about the program with each cart. Currently, 7,682 households will be expecting their new trash and recycling bins. 543 requests have been received for smaller trash or recycling carts, and we've received 283 requests for secondary trash or recycling carts so far. Our orders are in, the numbers are in, the vendors are working on how they're gonna, mapping how they're driving these around town specifically, so we're going to, it's gonna be quite an operation. Current trash and recycling containers, if they can't be repurposed, can be disposed of curbside, and we will be picking them up on Saturdays from July 12 to August 9. So Republic will come around and take people's old
We
bins.
can remind people of that when we get there, right?
We will remind people of that. Oh yeah, no, it'll be on,
It's a great
the information will continue to push that, but they don't have to, if they don't want to keep it, they hold on to it till the summer, and then we'll come collect it. And that's when we could arrange that
Yeah.
with Republic Services, because of all the spring collections that they're doing in all the communities. So this is a special thing. So that's why it's a little bit
And
later.
there'll be recycling, not trash.
The old bins, just the old
No, I
bins,
mean, there'll be, the recycling trucks will be doing that, not the
not the trash trucks.
trash trucks.
I can kind of confirm or deny
be-
which truck is coming around to pick it up.
They're hard plastic.
Well, we have who knows? We have hard plastic
Everyone's
collection,
gonna have
it's just another
different
one.
barrels
They're all
anyway.
I don't wanna
different,
know.
with different recycling content.
Yeah.
I think they'll all be recycled, but I'm not sure.
I think we'll
One
need to,
can always hope.
I think we'll need to know.
Chris, do you know, well, you want me to find out for you?
Not this minute, but no. We'll need to-
Thank you for that.
Well, I
I
mean,
can only do so much.
move along.
I will find it, I will find out for you. Yeah. And then also DPW will be hosting their spring rigid plastic recycling event.
See, yeah, which is a trash barrel.
It can be a trash barrel, on Saturday, May 17th from 9 to 1 at the garage. And I want to thank Chris Cole, my colleague, for giving me that information to share with you this evening.
Yeah, I think that'll be helpful. Thank you, Karen, but not everyone is gonna be able to make it.
That's right, yeah, and if
No, I
people don't
know,
want to make
frankly,
it,
I'm really thrilled that they're gonna come to my house and take it.
we're gonna come pick it
That's
up.
wonderful, that's what I'm trying to say, like, that's awesome.
Okay.
Just a quick question. Is, when will the training go out on how to use the new bins? And I assume we should start using them immediately upon receipt?
We definitely want folks to use them immediately, once they get them to start start using them. And there'll be some information that's sort of, it's like a door hanger that'll go on the handle of.
Oh, like a picture, how to put
Yeah,
it on
it's
the
like a
curb?
door, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
4.25 by 8 inches. And it'll have information on what you can recycle on one side, and it'll have information on trash on the other side. And there'll be a QR code for even more information that people will be able to get. But
We'll tell you which way to angle it.
we'll have
Like
all
that.
of that. Yep, would you like that?
Closed,
Cover
yes, I would like
has to
that.
fit all the way down, ideally. And yeah, there should be about 3 feet apart and so forth. Now, right now, there isn't the same automated arm collection necessarily that will start immediately. We understand that Republic would like to do that.
Right.
But, you know, so if we can get there, fantastic. And so that's why you need them to be certain distance apart versus having a person come. And
Yeah, if it's heavy, they can put it on the back of the truck and tip it.
that's
So
great.
I will have 2 trash and 2 recycling, that's 12 feet across my driveway. How am I getting my cars in and out of my driveway?
I mean, carefully. I mean, put them on either side. I don't know your property. We can talk about it.
That's 3 feet apart, that's crazy. When
Well,
you think about it, and what about like multifamily houses that have one driveway?
they'll
Or
have
no
to
driveway.
adjust,
Or
yeah.
no drive.
Or no driveway, they'll put them on the sidewalk,
Put 'em on the
or
cur-
the edge of
the
the
sidewalk.
road. They also will pick up, you know, where we have on-street parking, where Public Services picks up in cities, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
will
they don't have
walk
to be
in
in
and
the
get them, you know, they're not gonna,
And land right on the curb.
so,
Can I suggest one other thing? The
Yeah.
QR code is great for most people, but
not for everyone.
not for everyone. So we'll have a video online or some other way for other people
Absolutely.
to access.
I love the video idea.
Yeah, just
Yeah, I
something.
think it's a great idea.
idea, Jane.
Will you,
Great idea.
I bet I know somebody could film it,
Huh?
some
Just
people.
something.
Get a hazmat suit
Some people are a
Helmet.
little busy.
and do a video.
Hazmat suit?
Yeah.
I'll get on that.
Is there a way for people who signed up for the different size, non-default size barrels and recycling bins to check that they actually got on the list?
Is there a way, well, we've verified most of them individually. I would defer to my colleague,
Oh,
Mr. Cole,
oh,
who's
is
in charge
Mr.
of
Cole
it.
here?
Cole's
Like
here.
that, oh, hi.
Yes, we've been taking phone calls that,
Chris, if you don't mind coming up.
The in-room microphone can grab your,
Just wait for another week, right?
This podium's taller than it
There it
was.
Several weeks.
yes, we have, to answer your question, we have been taking phone calls with the office, signing folks up for who want smaller carts.
You had a list at the senior center like some time ago as well?
Yes, yes. And so if anyone has a question about if they, you know, what they signed up for, they can always call the DPW office and we can
Okay.
verify that information for them.
Great, thank you.
Real
Hold on,
quickly.
Chris, sorry.
Sorry.
Don't go anywhere.
Now that I got you there, I saw a bunch of complaints online regarding Prescott Street. So if you can just give us an update for Prescott and Woburn Street, I guess, just so people know that it's getting paved.
All the resurfacing, yes, Prescott Street will be resurfaced later this summer. It is on the schedule for this coming year.
And the same thing with Woburn Street.
Yes.
So if you can put that in the town manager minute too, Matt.
Yep.
Because I've never seen so many people unhappy about a particular street in Reading.
Yeah, we just talked
Bob's,
to Bob about it.
Bob's
before the
very
meeting,
upset,
Yeah.
very upset. Thank you, Chris.
Nice.
Is there still a list, is there still a list on DPW that any resident can go and just check where they are in the list? Or what streets are getting paved this year?
We're finalizing numbers right now and, you know, we'll be getting that up shortly.
Thank you.
Chris,
We good?
I think we're set.
All right. Laura, you're up next.
Hi.
Oh, where's that?
So last time I was here to talk about in-person early voting, I failed to mention that on Saturday, March 29th, is it 28th?
29th.
29th, that I have to be open for in-person, for last day to register to vote. So I have to be open from 9 to 5. And generally, we tend to make sure that we do in-person early voting on that same day as well. So I'm asking that we have permission to be open for in-person early voting on March 29th.
Thank you. Any discussion? I think we're all in agreement. I'm not speaking for everyone, but you'll go right to a motion?
Move to hold in-person early voting on Saturday, March 29th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you, Laura.
And real quick, while I have your attention, the vote by mail ballots will be going out tomorrow afternoon. So that anybody that's requested a ballot, it'll be hitting your boxes in a few days.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's next? Oh, vote to, so we have the, only a few pages, because I guess it's from a different contract that we're approving. This is an amendment to our disposal contract. Hopefully, everyone got a chance to read it. The price is in there, the increase is in there. So I'll open it up for any discussion.
Yep. Sure. So just a quick question. Can you go through why this is here? Did the last one expire? So this is an amendment for
Yeah.
continuation?
Correct.
So it ends end of 24 or end of
25.
fiscal 25 and opens July 1.
Yeah, so the current contract with Reworld, formerly Covanta, expires on June 30th of this year.
Okay.
Reworld has, I have Rich O'Connor here with me, who's the Massachusetts Market Area Manager, that can answer any technical questions for you. He's also a former Reading resident. But do you want me to just quickly go through the proposal with you?
Yes, please.
That'd be great.
Okay.
And the rate, if you would, too.
Yeah, sure. So our current tipping fee that we're paying right now is $101.30 per ton. So this new proposal extension would be a 6-year proposal. So 6 years, because then it would align us with the next trash disposal, the trash collection contract, I should say, that both contracts would align. And this would run until June 30th of 2031. The first year of the contract, the tipping fee would be $98.35, which is actually 3% lower than what we're paying now. And then years 2 through 6 would be based on the consumer price index for trash collection, not to exceed 4.5%. So, town staff has reviewed this, including Sharon. We all thought it was very favorable. We've run it by town council, our people at Mass DEP that we're in constant communication with that do these contracts every day, and they thought it was very favorable. Anytime you can tie something to the CPI. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds great, and the only downside of that is our annual budget increases are not usually that big, so, and this is only one line item, so just to keep in mind the picture that we all face as a community, if insurance goes up by more than that, and I don't know that we've ever had a budget increase of 4.5%, so.
That's not to exceed. It's not the increase.
Yeah, not to exceed, yeah.
It's not the every year. It's
Just,
yeah, you're pointing out.
you know what our budget increases
Yeah.
are. Okay, no, great, could be worse.
Question. In our current contract with them, do they increase it percentage every year?
Yes, right now it's increased. We're actually finishing up a 10-year contract right now, and that contract increases 3% each year.
Is that a fixed 3%?
Yes.
No matter what the CPI is, just a fixed.
Yeah, the current contract's not tied to the CPI.
Right. So because it's a 10-year contract, we end up at 101 because of the increases, and now we're starting off a little bit lower with increases coming in the future. Right. Okay. You good?
Oh, no.
You're good.
Thanks, Carlo. So this doesn't cover the recycling, or it covers the recycling?
No, this is just trash disposal. Recycling is included in the
Trash
collection contract.
So just so everyone's clear, this is not who comes to your house and picks up the trash, which everybody is aware.
This is where the trash
Situation
goes.
that's, yes, so this is just the disposal, correct? Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're obviously starting out lower. It can be up to 4.5%. It's just the same thing on a home equity loan. It's gonna fluctuate, et cetera. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But it's not gonna exceed, so I'm fine with the 4.5. It seems fair.
I don't know if I'll get this opportunity again, so, what's your name again? I'm sorry.
Rich O'Connor.
Richard, could you come up here and I just have I don't know if anyone else has a question, but, this is, stuff that not everyone's privy to. Where does our trash go?
Haverhill, TTF facility, thermal treatment facility.
And what gets done? If you could,
We receive the waste, we load it into a pit, a crane comes down, feeds it into a series of boilers. We have 2 boilers, produces steam, goes through a turbine. We generate electricity and sell the electricity to the grid, as well as pull metals out pre and post combustion.
wow. And how many communities was Haverhill,
30.
30? Okay, interesting.
We also have a facility in Rochester that we do 1.2 million tons, and we have about 60 municipalities and a series of 5 transfer stations in Massachusetts that feed our TTFs.
All right, so that's 90, no, was it 60 then 90? Would you say 30 or 90? Haverhill does how many towns?
30, and then we do about 60 down.
So that's 90, so who does the other 200 and?
Well, some, in our transfer stations, Braintree Transfer Station, for instance, we service 8 municipalities that go to Braintree, and then it's transferred, the waste is transferred down to our Rochester facility.
Okay.
As well as Lynn Transfer Station, the same thing. We do 4 out of the 5 districts in the city of Boston. 3 of them run through Lynn, which is transferred up to Haverhill, and then 1 runs through Braintree, which goes down to CMAS for ultimate disposal.
Okay, so at the actual site in Rochester and Haverhill, there's not much waste as far as, because you steam the trash, is that what I heard?
No, we do 1.2 million tons a year at CMAS.
Right.
We generate 600,000 megawatts of electricity and pull out almost 70,000 tons of metals for recycling. And up in Haverhill, a little less, it's a smaller plant, we do 621,000, about 300,000 megawatts and about 20,000 tons of recycled metal.
All right, good. Karen?
Great question. So you're burning the trash.
We're processing it. It goes into boilers
Well, if you're,
that create steam.
yeah, you mentioned boilers.
And then we feed it through turbine generators, produce electricity, which we sell to the grid.
So yeah, I was just wondering how has your regulatory environment changed in terms of off-gassing, carbon, all that kind of stuff? Just curious.
Well, our emissions are governed by EPA as well as Mass DEP, and we are consistently well below the threshold required for emissions. We have a website, you can certainly go on and take a look at the emissions reports, which you are required to report on an annual basis.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. I know more than I did 2 minutes ago. Thank you. Okay. I think, are we good? We have a motion?
Yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, good.
Move to approve the Reworld Waste Disposal contract as presented.
Second, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 5-0, thank you, great. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, moving along. We have our master plan and capital projects discussion. Jackie was nice enough to put the master plan 2005, 2006 in our packet. Quite lengthy. While I didn't read it word for word, I did scan the whole document, and there's a lot of information in there, and it seems like we had MAPC's assistance. And then while she couldn't find it when at our agenda meeting, she did send us who was on the committee. We still don't have the charge, but I'm sure we can figure that out with some help. But there was quite a few members on the committee, and there is I didn't know Mass General Law was part of this. When you're doing a master plan, but there's requirements that we have to uphold as to what areas in the master plan we have to cover, which are more than half a dozen. So I'll leave it there. I keep on not counting right, but I get either 11 or 13 members. But I don't know
I think 13.
who is Chris? Who's the first person? Is that someone from the board?
Is it Chris or Dick Howard?
No, the very first person, the first paragraph.
Probably Chris Riley, the
Yeah.
town planner.
He was a town planner. Okay, that's okay. So I didn't count him. So if I count Chris, 3 from CPDC, 4 conservation, 5 housing, 6 3 residents, 9 chamber, 10, and then a realtor, which was kind of weird. Just says realtor, doesn't say citizen. So it said realtor.
Is our capital R?
So I get 11. Does anyone else get 11? Or did I miscount?
Which page are you looking at?
I was going with the page 211 that Jackie referred to.
Oh, okay, there's also a page that says Master Plan Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
That is, it's marked page 16. I guess it's inside the master plan document, page 16.
In the master plan document?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
No,
It says
it's
the
very
number or it
early.
says the people? Oh, yeah, right, yeah, I looked at that, I saw that too.
So that's the 13 that I saw on the list.
Right. But then the
Yeah,
the
but
minutes didn't refer to all 13, so maybe that was, they weren't there? Okay. Yeah, I knew it was either, yeah, that's what I saw, 13. Because when I was making a list in my head, without having this in front of me, I actually got to 13, without knowing this.
Yeah.
Like different boards and committees and some residents, so it jives, but
Yeah.
those minutes that Jackie provided us only had 11.
Yep.
But this, so we can do 11 or 13, whatever
Yeah.
we agree on.
obviously, it's very broad participation
Yeah.
that's expected, and community input that's expected.
I didn't expect 3 from CPDC, that's a lot, it's a big commitment.
Yeah, I didn't see the connections by group, but, I mean, I see Andrew's in the room, but I also, part of the questions in here relate to kind of who is most of this impacting and kind of where is it going? So I didn't read it word for word either, but a lot of the document talked about CPDC taking the lead on a lot of things as it relates to kind of land use planning and things like that.
Yeah, of
obviously,
course, yeah.
and those activities. So having a heavy contingent from them, I think probably makes sense.
4 though, is a lot to me.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just talking for me, 4 is
Yeah.
a lot.
I didn't have a chance to reach back out to CPDC, because I know that, again, I think I mentioned I had a quick discussion with Heather Klisch a year or 2 ago about this, at least a year, maybe 2, just to kind of see what's going on, because I think they agree with the need
Yeah.
for a new master plan. I think most people do when they see it. So, again, specifics, not exactly sure, but probably would make sense to consult with them a little bit before kind of defining membership. See which groups you want to make sure are there.
All right, so I'm looking at this, it's 13 plus the town planner.
Yeah, town planner wouldn't be a
That's not,
voting member.
wouldn't be a voting member, you think, Andrew?
don't
Probably
think
not,
so,
right?
no.
Okay. All right, sorry. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I just think, I know much of a heavy lift this is gonna be for all these people, that when I saw 3 CPDC, I mean,
Is that a quorum? How many people are on CPDC?
no, 6, I think.
Quorum,
It-
5 plus an associate on the board, so 3 is quorum.
Yeah, I know. Oh, 3, yeah, but
So that may be part of the reasoning, is to,
whatever, we can, I mean, we're not there yet to
Yeah.
formalize this committee, but it's at least we have something to look at.
one of the things if I could too, so I looked through kind of the categories, and again, more land use focused kinds of things, all make sense. I think one of the things I thought we might want to consider adding relates more to community structure. So specifically, the world is changing. This community is going to have 30% people age 60 plus. And the kinds of facility needs beyond housing, maybe they're in recreation or maybe not, I think that's changing pretty dramatically. And that ought to be part of the planning process, is thinking about what is it that we're thinking about, what are we trying to achieve? Same thing on the school side, right? What is it that we're trying to achieve there? What's the expectation? I think that should be part of it. What I've envisioned for this thing is that it lays this stuff out, but also when we're going through and we're looking at capital priorities, we look to this document, right? So, boiler blows up, you don't need to look at the document, right? But other than that, you do. and you kind of say, well, where does that fit in terms of things? So, you know, if these are the top 3 priorities, here's a project that's down here, well, what progress we've made in those 3 first? Are we okay that we can do that other project, or should we allocate the funds up there? I think that we're finding we have more and more ideas, more and more projects, and to some extent fewer and fewer available dollars to accomplish them. So we've got to be very deliberate in terms of what we do. So it may be that there's another category that goes onto this list beyond those that are already listed that relates. We have there's a $150,000 community priorities budget, I believe, in the master budget. What's the community priorities budget and accommodated cost today? Is it 150K?
I think it's close to that, yeah. I can't-
Yeah, so we've started to realize that there are some community priorities that stand out. I just was hoping we could start thinking about adding some order instead of more of the whack-a-mole approach that we use today.
Would you want me to recite the different categories? Maybe that would help us?
So I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and
We're
I
gonna
kind of
go
felt like
loud
there's
so the
one
public-
missing. Oh,
Well,
please, yeah, sorry, I didn't.
I think it's in there, but not specifically. Like when we given what you just said, so we got facilities, which is buildings.
Yep.
Right? Land use, housing, which is affordable housing and housing, economic development, which would be Eastern Gateway, et cetera, right? Historical and cultural councils, which would be historic buildings and the arts. That's what I interpret that as. Open space and recreation, very important, given most of Reading is open space. And then transportation. So if you wanted to add, so what you said is, you know, partly in facilities, partly in recreation, partly in a few things, housing. So I'm not saying I don't agree with you or disagree with you, but I think it's already incorporated, but you kind of want to make it a separate.
I think that there's not advocacy for that. There's, well, maybe you'd think about that in housing, maybe you'd think about that in facilities, maybe you'd think about that in recreation. But there's not an advocate for it. So the first category here, in fact, is, as I'm seeing it on page, let's mark 16, character and identity. So, and maybe there's a big chunk that fits into there too. It's kind of defining, hey, you know, here are some priorities related to residents. And you know what? The fact that it cuts across those different categories, I think, is one of the reasons why it may need its own.
I mean, that's why we're talking about it. I mean, this affects the whole town in different ways, right? Depending where you live, depending what services you use.
Yep.
So,
I think the seismic change that's taking place, at least in this country, and specifically to Reading, means that there are you've got different folks in town. So we've always had people who stay, which is kind of a cool thing about Reading. But now you're finding that a bigger proportion are post having kids, maybe living at home, maybe not, we'll see, and out of the schools and having different needs to be accommodated, again, cutting across those categories.
no, I get it. Like 20 years ago, the boomer generation weren't retired.
Right.
Now they're all retired and on the other side of life.
Not all of them.
Well, you know, not all of them, but generally.
On the other side of life, not gonna
Generally, you're over the hill, put it that way.
Oh,
Over the hill.
thanks.
You're like you and I are the same age, we're like 1 year away from that.
Going downhill. You know the point I'm trying to get. So yes,
Just remember in a year.
a lot has changed. I got 2 years, so a lot has changed. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Societally wise, demographic wise, you know, but you know, again, that's why we're talking out loud. I don't know if it needs to be separate and how we, like when I was making my list and then I looked at this document, I didn't see, you know, like council on, I wrote committees down when I was making my list. I wrote council on aging, select board, us, none of us are on this. CPDC, obviously, FinCom, no one on FinCom was
Why
on
do you
that.
think there were no select board members? Was Mr. Chafoyer and the other gentleman?
Oh yeah, Tafoya, sorry. See, I was looking at two different things. There's this list, right, Ben Tafoya, then there's, I'm going by the minutes.
Russell, Jack
There's
Russell?
two different lists, which is interesting.
Yeah, so
I think one is an advisory committee, and maybe that's bigger. I'm not sure, Andrew, I don't know if there's any color that Andrew could add.
I think sometimes, Good evening, Select Board. Thank you for having me. I think sometimes there's the full advisory committee, and then based on certain subsections of that plan, they might go to different partners and invite different people for like that specific economic development who should be there. And maybe that's why in the minutes, if they're talking that specific action, there's some different people there that they either invited or went to or collaborated with. But generally, a dozen is about right, from what I've seen in recent plans too.
Can give an example, looking at, so just reading through the housing section, a lot of it talks about, 10% affordable housing. Probably
There's a
that's
lot- yeah, right.
state driven.
Yeah.
So we have some other housing goals, needs, ideas to be thinking about also. So, transit related could be one category. That demographic shift means you got more people aging in place. So that has different needs and opportunities and things that from a housing perspective we might want to encourage that are kind of different from 20 years ago or whatever the one before that was. 1991 was the one before.
Right, before, yeah, 10 years, yeah. But
So-
my guess, that's why, I'm hoping that the state had some forethought, and that's part of the ADU law that they kind
Yeah,
of put
that's a
in
piece,
place
that's
to help
Absolutely.
age in place and an accessory unit so that they're, one door away instead of.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a great example. And thinking about the impact of that on what CPDC does, on zoning requests that are going to be brought forward. I think those are all the pieces. I guess I want to make sure that we're realizing that the world is changing around us. And we as a community are aware and forward thinking. And the state may be ahead of us, they may be behind us. I think probably more likely behind. But we're doing the thinking. This is our master plan. It accomplishes the state requirements and it's about what we want to do.
This is very focused. All right, Mark and I have monopolized this so far, so who wants to go next? Chris?
Thanks, Carla. So we can get a grant, is that possible? A
Small
for
grant,
this
I
or
think,
something?
hopefully, right? Jane, I think hopefully a small grant.
Potentially, yeah.
Good try.
Yeah.
And what does the beeping? What does the grant actually cover?
I'll defer to Andrew, but typically it's technical
We're
assistance.
gonna need help on this.
Yeah.
This is it's a big project.
Person.
It depends what type of grant you're looking for. If you go to MAPC specific grants, they do like district technical grants, and that could either collaborate to the town as a whole or certain districts and pieces of the plan. If you look at their TAP funding, technical assistance program, that's more broader technical assistance. Their general priorities in that are engagement related. So if you seek certain grants, they're typically used for certain elements of a plan or pieces of a plan. I think the highest grant I've seen, at least in some peer communities for a master plan, is about $40,000 when their total project cost was $120,000. And that usually was, again, shepherd the grant specifically, mostly towards like engagement side.
Okay. Yeah, because seeing 200 pages that was done by somebody, a group, 13 people, 10 people, whoever it is pretty incredible. Like, nobody's got time to read 200 pages. Maybe Mark did on the train.
He did it for the record.
I'll quiz you after. But like, there is a ton of information in this. Like, so it would be good to get some help and also recoup some form of money from that as well. So,
Yeah, it's good to know from like 20 years ago how reading this is so relevant. Like it's spot on, and I just caught this and I caught it before, but I'm making note of it. And I don't know if there is someone on the school committee or school adjacent, but says excellence of school systems. Obviously, that's why a lot of people have come and live in Reading.
Yeah.
But I don't recognize all those names from 20 years ago. Some are still active members.
Some of us do.
Some of us, John Sasso, still active on town meeting. Jonathan Barnes, active on town meeting. Virginia Adams, still historical. So
Yeah, so see, you
There's a-
recognize a lot of names.
yeah, that's it. As far as that for me, that's all I
Okay.
recognize. So, like, I don't know if any one of those 13 is school
page are
committee
you
or
on
school
now?
committee adjacent. 17. If anyone recognizes, I know George was a resident.
Yeah.
Steve was a resident, and Susan was a resident. But I think one of them was school related, huh?
Oh, yeah, not having committees.
I think, yeah.
I mean, Tim Kelly is
What?
a resident, but I don't know that
Was he a
he's been-
school committee member? I don't remember that.
Tim Kelly was housing.
Okay, so he's
That would
still
make sense.
engaged, I think, isn't he, in the
If that's the
housing?
Tim Kelly that we
Yeah.
think we
This
know.
is one of the
I
same.
suspect it is.
All right.
Jack Russell,
Select board member, I don't know if he was
Yeah.
then or retired.
I
Okay.
think he may have moved out of town. I think
No,
it's,
no, but he was then.
could have been select boards, certainly would have been chamber, I think. He was very involved in the chamber for a number.
Chamber, it was, Tim, there you go, sorry, he was
Yeah,
representing
Tim would
the
have
chamber.
been chamber, yeah.
No, that was housing, sorry. Chamber, I have Pete. Peter Smargon was representing the chamber.
I think for our master plan, we should have / position next to them. So 20 years from now, someone will be happy to know who these people represented.
Yeah, there was some,
Which one right out of
there
the,
was some context in the minutes, but not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like in those minutes, Ben Tafoya wasn't mentioned. And I know he was on the board, but was that 20 years ago? I don't know if he was. It's a long time. But maybe. He was on the board when I moved here, and that was 15, 16 years ago,
He
so.
stepped down in 2013-ish, so he might have been,
Might have been
or
on for a
right
couple
before.
times.
You might,
Yeah, so it could have been,
this was.
it's not too far off the path.
Yeah. So anyway, Chris, all right, so Melissa or Karen, any 2 cents?
I'm just trying to understand, what are we trying to do tonight, or just having a general discussion?
General discussion.
Or are we gonna authorize Andrew and staff to go and pursue a grant first and then come, I don't know, what are we trying to do tonight?
I think we need to create a charge, maybe not tonight.
Okay.
This is a,
Yeah.
I think preliminary discussion.
Okay.
We couldn't find it, hopefully we can find it. I'm just looking in that direction,
I'm
but
sure
yeah.
we can get some.
I know. If we can find it, great. If not, we can have a template and fill it in. I think tonight was to discuss how involved this is, and when I saw Andrew's counterpart and then 3 CPDC members, that's a heavy lift for that board. But
But
that's
they're planners.
no, right, but that's not that's
Yeah, no,
that's
yes.
40% of the, I think, to me, personally, that's too heavy. That's too heavy for.
They're
So the question
planners.
3
is,
plus.
did this basically become CPDC's charter in terms of how they, between this and zoning? That's
A
how
lot
they-
of that, and then I don't know if you read the memo too, it was another 6 pages on top of 200, but there's a lot of short-term actions and priority plans since the master plan. And that's typically what a master plan does, right, is inform your next studies and the finer detail and actions. Because the master plan, its benefit to many of the points tonight is it's looking at a longer term and trend, right, 10, 15, maybe 20 years, where something like the housing production plan or OSRP, open space and recreation plan, is looking at a 5-year trend and saying in the next 3 to 5 years, what should we be looking at? And I don't want to say that ignores the 15-year period, but it's not the same look, right? And so that's the benefit of the master plan. And what we've seen recently is it's a 2-year period. It's $150,000, give or take, dependent on the format you look for. I think the benefit of some of these other plans that we've done over recent years, and some could be updated and refreshed, but not all of them need, right? Like the 2005 master plan has your affordability gap analysis. You don't need that maybe in this master plan because that's in your HPP. And so things of that nature that you can kind of pick and choose and say, this area of schools or rec or other deserves a deeper look because we maybe don't have that like planning document specific there, so.
Right, and Mark is right. The CPDC is responsible for ensuring execution of this plan and has made a commitment to the Board of Selectmen and the community to keep them apprised of the status. So, right, I know why it was top heavy.
Yeah.
I understand that, but like.
Might be too top heavy.
Yeah, well,
But they
again,
need to
like
be pretty strong.
A lot of it relates to land use to all those sections, and so that's where.
They're kind of they have the history, they've kind of built some of the structures
Yeah.
in some sense. They implement the activities?
And CPDC, just for awareness too, has talked about this in pieces since the town meeting instructional motion. I think last year we were a bit focused on state goals and priorities that we had to get through. And so at the start of this year, we reopened that discussion, and we're hoping and trending towards a November town meeting update in terms of like quote charge type language. That is this a priority and need? So you having this conversation now with them is perfect timing.
Yeah, we gotta keep this going, and thank you, obviously not this town meeting, but I also noted, and we all know this, 20 years ago, we didn't have a PBC. To me, that would be integral to have someone on this committee. That's me personally, so that stuck out. A, we didn't have it, and B, how important they are to us now for our buildings and schools. So
You probably just want to be careful that it's not Noah's Ark, right?
no, I'm saying
To
stay in the
everyone.
parameters, but yeah, but like I agree, but even with but it can't be small.
Right.
It's too heavy of a lift.
Yeah,
It can't be small.
There's two paths to the committee, right? You can generally aim for general residents with some standing boards and then bring the questions and answers to those that have been long-standing boards with institutional knowledge, or you can build the board of all of those.
Yeah, I think residents with specific expertise is gonna be crucial. So Karen, you hand up?
Yeah, just, so I haven't read this fully every single page, but I'm not really seeing a timeline, not a timeline, an expiration date for our next plan. And I never saw that this was supposed to last for 20 years, but maybe this time around in the charge, maybe we could be more clear, and that could help influence the kind of people we get involved, the topics we cover. If we say we want this to only be looking out for the next 10 years in general.
Right. I agree.
Is that what the timeline is?
Setting the timeline and setting a regular update, which is what we do with every other plan, 5 years, 7 years, something like that. For the master plan, you could choose 10, 15. I probably wouldn't go beyond that. 20 is a lot.
Seems like this is a different town. We don't even live in this town anymore. So it's amazing. Some of the concerns are timeless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Always.
Melissa, any comments?
No, just back to the membership, just a quick comment, like you said, there's two paths. You can do a smaller board and then just bring people in for specific topics, or do a larger board with people that are on the boards and committees. I worry about if we do a smaller board and then we're going to each of these committees on each topic, it's just going to delay this. Where if we bring the experts in from the committees and put them on the advisory committee, it may just move it quicker, is my thought. Just because then you're not going to each committee for, I guess. Yeah, so that's all.
Yeah, heard. That 12 is usually the right number. I've just seen some with like 25, 26.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
I'm
that's
not
a lot.
saying, yeah, no, I'm not saying that.
That's insane.
I'm not saying, but I just think that it would be important to get members from our current committees on this advisory.
Yeah, I thank you. I think if we can't find our charge, if we can find another community's charge, because I'm guessing the charge is gonna be pretty lengthy, is my guess, and I'd hate to start from scratch,
Why do you think the charge would be super lengthy?
because it has to cover so much. I don't know, I'm just guessing.
Yeah,
I don't
no, well, all the charges we've done, we've
try to
kept
keep
it
it to-
relative, like a mission statement,
Yeah, we
like,
kept it to a page or two, I understand,
oh,
but
our charges have been like a paragraph.
no.
For committees? Yeah, they have.
No, they've
Shorter than 139 pages.
Yeah, they've gone over a page. In just words, not in
A
words.
charge?
Yeah,
I don't think,
yeah, they have.
okay,
You can find vision statements, mission statements, charges.
yeah, but they're not gonna be that long, but then, yeah,
One of the things we could do is kind of lay out some expectations in terms of how they'll work, the things that they'll cover, when they're gonna kind of come back and report progress, things like that. Those would fit really nicely in the charter, right? Just to make sure that we've got those covered.
Yeah, I think we should, in the next several meetings, not the next meeting, but kind of like hone in on when we want this to start, kinda. And then Andrew, give it 18 months? Is that for 18 months, or if they need an extension, they need an extension, but a small one maybe, give them gotta define an end date, right, so they have a goal. And then,
There's a community survey, I think, looks like was done as part of this. Is that-
oh, I'm sure, I'm sure, yeah.
This last one was 4 years, by the way, not 18 months.
No,
That doesn't mean that we can't.
it was a couple of years from,
That plan took 2 to 3 years, I thought, to finish.
this one that's in front of us?
So, and that's again because of some of the technical data pieces in it. Most likely to get all that data, refine it,
With
review
the
it.
graphs and all the real technical stuff.
So,
There's nothing wrong with 18, I'm just saying, like, back then they picked this and me looking at this, so.
All right, well, okay, I'm spitballing, yeah, could be 2 years, I don't know.
Maybe what we could do is put together kind of what we want to cover and then get some expert feedback on saying, oh, well, if you want to cover that scope, you should count on X to get it done.
yeah, so we're getting a quote from a consultant in terms of something, I think we shared a few examples closer to the Ipswich plan, because we felt like that was a good middle ground, but if there's desire to go deeper into certain areas, like we can look at that quote, kind of push it to its maximum limits and say, focus, add, remove, maybe not necessary, and use that.
Right, but do we need to engage them before we even start the committee, like before we even start it, probably, I'm guessing yes?
Engage the consultant?
Yeah. MAPC or whoever we choose.
It wouldn't hurt, and that's the thing too, if certain grants tie you to certain consultants, or are there other grants that allow us to go either to an RFP or direct contract with a consultant of our choosing, so that would be the asterisk on a grant. This consultant specifically for the quote is JMG, Jennifer Goldson, Planning and Design, who did the Ipswich plan. That's why we went to them. And they're working on the Eastern Gateway District plan right now. So it's a natural tie-in. So whether or not they actually got the contract or award is a different question. So
if, I'm gonna ask Jane and Matt, if we applied for a grant next week, what's the turnaround time? No. What's the turnaround time?
24 hours.
Stay open.
Well, it takes, it takes a lot to first get the application and everything
Yeah,
together.
okay.
Hypothetically.
I'm saying if you started this process next week,
Right, yeah.
when, 2 months, 3 months?
Depending on the grant, but.
So one-stop application is generally your number one area of interest for something like this. There's a community planning grant available in that. That's due in early June. If you got the award, it would come in early September. Then you'd looking to finalize the contract with the state. Then a consultant, you're probably looking at best New Year's 2026 to get a consultant on, and then we'd also probably be asking November town meeting for either change of existing funds or new funds to finish the rest of that contract. So,
Okay, so a two-step process kind
Yeah,
of.
because they open grants for you and then you apply and.
sometimes the grants like if you have your money dedicated first, so they know that you have a match and some skin in the game. So we can chat.
And
about
coincidentally,
that.
they'll charge us exactly that amount, yeah. What's your grant for, by the way? I think, that's a good start if anybody wants to add any more. I think we,
Just to be clear, if we don't apply for one stop this June, you're looking at next.
no, we're
Yeah, let's
gonna,
go
we
for it.
we are going to, yes. We instruct
That'd be great.
town staff
Flying.
to
Applying for grants is a good thing.
apply for all the grants. All the grants.
All grants belong to
Yeah,
us.
I wonder if it makes sense also to reach out to, John Sasso here was the chairperson, talk to him a little bit. Definitely talk to John Weston at CPDC. Maybe there are a few other folks to talk to a little bit, just even at this point in the process, get some thoughts from them on scope, timing, et cetera, before we kind of say, okay, here's the charter, and then they'll say, oh, but we really wanted you to include this.
No, we could ask them to put on an agenda item, right, in the next couple of meetings, right? I don't know, they already have stuff going on, but yeah, I think this is not gonna happen this spring or this summer. I was kind of hoping by the fall. I don't wanna go out next year. It just seems like so far away. It's only March, but,
Process.
I get that, and and Mark's not gonna get to enjoy the fun because, you know, he started this conversation years ago.
No, he can be on it.
Well, I don't know about that. It's a conflict. That's a conflict. Clear conflict. Clear conflict.
Well, there is good news. I just found Topsfield just did their master plan and it's 2024 to 2034 and it's only 48 pages. I mean, I know the communities
'Cause it's 10 years.
didn't make it.
Yeah, because Topsfield Fair is half the time.
Still, I mean, that's.
He's got color pictures too, it's not all.
Lynn is in like 5 different languages.
30 pages of.
5,000 residents, that's all they have probably?
They have a
Saying,
fair over
I
there.
was just trying to see charges, that's what.
Yeah.
Arlington is going through theirs right now. Rochester, I think, there's always a community doing
Yeah.
a plan. Yeah.
Rochester twice tonight. What are the odds? Yeah, there is, yeah. There's a Florida mass too. All right, we good on this topic for now? It's good start, I think. Get this in our packet.
Are you ready to talk about the second half of
Yeah,
the
we
agenda
can, we
item?
can. Yeah, I know you're not gonna let that slide. Yeah, I know.
The second part to this?
Capital plans.
Oh, jeez, I thought there was both.
They tie it together, yes.
Not very related. So, I think what we're seeing is that right now we've got a couple of very large projects. There are some medium-sized ones, and there are some smaller ones, and there are different pockets of funds, all of which we don't completely understand yet, but we'd like to. And what I suggest we do as a community is take a look and help kind of figure out where the priorities are. And again, instead of the whack-a-mole approach, you know, with guidance, but it's whack-a-mole, right? Where, you know, something pops up, we hit it and try to push it down for a while. Is to start thinking more clearly, hey, these are the things we want to do, and you know what? That may mean that we don't do some other things. For example, the first time the downtown activity came up, right? We heard we had a grant, there was a big downtown proposal, and we were gonna bring in quite a bit of matching funds. I mean, I think it was millions of dollars, I don't remember the exact number. And I think each of us came back and said, you know what? Great plan, but not right now. It's not high enough up on the priority list to accomplish it that way. Now there's a second proposal in front of us that's actually going to town meeting that says, hey, you know, here's a smaller version of that too, but it still is gonna pull out of some of those discretionary funds. And the reason I asked Carla for you to put this on here is that I think we as a community need to think very clearly about, you know, multiple smaller things, where they make sense versus, wait a second, let's kind of save it up and put it toward these bigger ones. And alternatively, it may also be, you know what, some of those smaller ones actually are more important. We really need to do those. I'm fine with that. I just don't want it to be haphazardly done. And it kind of feels like, you know, when I heard someone say, you know, hey, we have some funds available and this is something we could do, I kind of recoiled and said, wait a second, if we have some funds available, let's talk about what to use those funds for. And let's make sure we're in agreement on what that is. You know, interestingly, talk out of school a little bit, you know, Birch Meadow 2 kind of came up with less discussion than it probably merited. It got through town meeting with less discussion than it probably merited. Took a pile of cash to do that, and you know, laudable goals, all good. Was that necessarily the next and highest priority? Maybe, but I'm not sure. I don't think the community had a clear discussion on it. I think the community discussed Birch Meadow too. I think they didn't discuss all the other things, you know, going on. I just think we can be more deliberate about it, and I think we should take a look at these available funds and say, you know what? I love the master plan idea. These are what we're trying to get done. Let's kind of focus our funds. Let's focus our activities here. And the other ones, maybe we don't do right now, or maybe we make them smaller in scale. So that's the reason why I wanted to kind of have this discussion. How do we make that happen? This board hasn't been as much a part of the capital planning process as in some other communities. In fact, some other communities have a capital planning committee. We don't do that currently. We don't have that set up. And where it was just replacing a boiler, I don't think you need a capital planning committee for that. But when we're starting to talk about community priorities, when we're starting to realize that there are lots of things we'd like to do, we realize we have limited funds to do it, so let's make sure we're hitting the priorities the right way. So specific to here, town meeting's coming up, there are some uses of capital, you know, downtown is one of the examples. I'd like to know, you know, where do we have money that is available? What are the restrictions on how to use it? make sure we're clear on where our priorities are, and talk about how do we allocate funds to make sure we can get those most important things done first.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You know, you use that as an example, right? And then, you know, things come at us, some faster than others. But yeah, it'd be good to have, you know, what, to me, it's what, you know, it's needs and wants and what serves the community as a whole, right? We have all these different parks all over the town that serve these little pockets of, you know, neighborhoods, right? And then we have the bigger fields, and we have where we play soccer and baseball, and Parker and Coolidge have one has turf, one doesn't. So that's and what needs to be done for the schools too, as well. I mean, that's to me would be part of this, even though it's not our job, but that's part of it's all one bucket, right? It's just and the school is the majority of that bucket. So we have to be aware of that they're gonna have needs. And other buildings, you know, our buildings as well. Libraries should be good for a while, but you know, what other upgrades do the town buildings need? The fire departments and you know, any kind of public safety building. Water tower's done, so we're good there for a long time. So, yeah, I think, you know, you've been, you know, banging this drum for a while. And do we put it in writing? Do you want to form a committee? I don't love creating more committees, but if we give them a goal and it's, you know, kind of like, I don't want to say Simon's Way kind of was a big circle and didn't really get us anywhere, but it did. It got us talking and got us looking down the road. And then we looked at the whole campus as than just the original Simon's Way, Zani land. So that I think that was good, changing that. But yeah, I typically am against forming committee, but in this case, it could be warranted because, you know, I think, you know, on a smaller side, no, but that's, you know, I don't know if anyone else has an opinion on forming a committee and not forming a committee, but I think we've been kicking this can for years. I saw Karen first, then Melissa.
Okay, no, I think we need to form a committee for this.
Melissa?
Just a quick question. Why wouldn't we include the capital planning in the master planning committee? There may be a real balance.
Capital plans are typically a shorter vision, typically 5 to 10 years. But yeah, I think it's part of it, but you know, we have stuff budgeted out in the fiscal years in the budgeting process, right? Resurfacing courts, doing a roof, and then COVID, we kicked everything down the road, right? And unbeknowingly, it cost us more money to do everything. Every single thing we delayed because of COVID, for good reasons, but everything just cost us more. So if you look at fiscal 26, fiscal 27, fiscal 28, you'll see $500,000, $1 million. You'll see, okay, we really don't need to do this over. I mean, we delayed it for 2 years to focus on something else. So I think that's where this is coming from. The master plan was more high level, you know, where this is more pinpointed that we know we're going to need to do this. I'm gonna let Chris go first. Do you have anything?
No, I think that
Quick
we would
comment.
have to.
I was just gonna say, no, it's a good question, and I think to your point, this is a high level master plan that can inform the capital planning, because that's perfect, because when we're at town meeting, we're trying to figure out what are our priorities, and that's part of the drum you've been beating. You need a plan to say what are your priorities, and then you look at all the capital projects hitting us, and besides fixing the boilers or fixing a leaking whatever, then we can inform the capital
Yeah, there's the
plan.
emergencies. There's the, you know, finding arsenic in the when we're doing a sump pump, you know, a substation, and then stop the project.
Right.
$500,000 more. There's that. Then there's emergency stuff. But like, if we made a list 1 through 10, and we were given that list per what we have laid out now, either us 5 or another group might say, well, 3 should be 1, 10 should be 5. And
Yep.
that's what that
But
would
right
do.
now, it's like whoever's the loudest drum kind of
Yeah.
bumps the,
Well-
for the medium-sized projects, they kind
Yeah.
of bump the queue.
Yeah,
And
but
that's been
like to me,
happening for the last
what would
3-4 years.
median be to you? I don't even know what median would be.
The
No,
police-
price-wise, no,
the poli-
price-wise.
I don't know, the police station, like several million, the police station project, the deciding we need to do the floor at the high school now. If we decide to do a $2 million pickleball thing, I call those medium projects versus the two building projects we're working on versus, $500,000 and less the boiler projects. Just in general, you might have other examples.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't,
Oh, and I didn't even mention the downtown projects, things like that.
yeah, things tens of millions obviously are big projects, right? I think several million and under are more doable, more realistic. I mean, Birch Meadow Phase 2, have we even funded Birch Meadow? Phase 2 or 3, whatever we're on?
Phase 2.
Phase 2 is funded.
And that's the last phase, there's one more?
3 is in the process.
We haven't brought that forward.
Right, but 2 is funded?
2 is funded.
2 is funded, okay.
Going
Not
to
completed.
bid soon.
No, we have not completed 2, right.
We haven't started construction on it. It was approved at town meeting and the design work has now just about finished and we're ready to bid it pretty soon. So we can start construction.
Okay,
I believe it was in the rec meeting, they went over, there was a bunch of residents concerned with how it was over in that area.
okay.
with Birch.
Yeah, right.
Around basketball courts, things like that.
Yeah.
I think all these things play well together, right? So the master plan is kind of the, as you said, high level kind of vision, and then the capital plan is more specific, delineating, watching for trade-offs, seeing what things have to happen. We go through a capital planning process now where, there's 5% set up for debt and capital, and then, suddenly something's got to come in, which means, well, we've got to push something else off. So there's a process now that kind of moves, can you wait one more year on that? Yeah, I guess we can. Okay, move it out. That's going to continue. I'm thinking that we can give guidance with the master plan, and then even in talking about capital planning, okay, let's make sure we're focusing on this. But this is coming up too. Okay, good. Think about it. How do we have a rational process of thinking about it? And this board hasn't really been involved in that, and to a large extent, FinCom hasn't either, other than to say, okay, take it to town meeting. I mean, it really's come from the town so far. And again, boilers and fire trucks and all things you got to do. The questions are more these community priorities and how do you fit those in, and how do you rank them? How do you stack them up? And do you have, frankly, having more residents involved in those activities probably improves the chances that they pass.
And I think, I think pickleball is a great example where prior to COVID, even though pickleball was invented in the 60s, not until COVID, and there's been professional pickleball, forget the recent craze, all these leagues and it's on TV, but pickleball was not in our vernacular pre-COVID. It's on commercials now, it's in shows, it is everywhere. So all of a sudden there's a pickleball community. That wasn't in any master plan, capital budget. Oh, we need more courts. That didn't exist. Our PPA was using chalk to play. So there's that. So, Saugus just did new courts, Medford just did new courts, a dedicated pickleball court. So that's a good example of, okay, that could kind of come out of that was part of the whack-a-mole, oh no, this is really popular and it's not going away. As a community, we should probably do something. Because, Melrose just got shut down, their pickleball courts by the neighbors. So
Noise.
there was, so again, was it poor planning? Well, I don't know when it was done, but that'll push people elsewhere. But I think that's a good example that's really current and not going away anytime soon. How do we serve that community? How does that tie into the active living center and blah, blah, blah. So I think a list would be good that we already have. We look at it, maybe have a discussion, and then have a discussion about forming a committee.
Yeah, and maybe there's a formal process where the board, representatives of the board, representatives of other boards get together on a regular basis to explore what's going on in terms of capital planning and bringing I guess I'll call it more community input into the process. And again, great for discussion, thinking about how do we tackle it, but maybe the starting point is to kind of have those discussions early, see what's going on. Yeah, they bounce around a little bit, but not the big ones don't as much. And we need to fit them in. And if we decide it's a community priority, it should, that should have higher status, I guess, in some sense.
I was just gonna say, if we're gonna do a committee, we really need to make sure we get someone from each of our other, rec department, school department, building department, like everyone needs, so then you're bringing all your priorities from those departments to the table and then you can sit there and listen. Because I think sometimes we're in like silence. Yes, silence, exactly,
Yeah.
and we don't know what the other, committee or department's looking to do.
Yep.
So, public safety, we gotta bring everyone in, just to have that conversation of what are your thoughts and what are you thinking for the future?
So I think that's happening to the town. It's just not happening beyond that currently. Right, so you guys get together and you talk about what is Department A, what do you need? Department B, what do you need?
We meet periodically, Sharon, department heads, and some of it is like you said, smaller things, boiler, whatever, or larger thing, fire truck. And you're right, things get bumped around and moved. I mean, it is capital and debt, and so we rely on Sharon on the debt side of it too, so she has a big voice in that, and she's at a conference, otherwise she'd be here to discuss this with you tonight as well. But any sort of community input, we're always welcoming. And, Mark, your point is well taken on that. Sharon's been dealing with it longer than I have. I dealt with it a little as a department head, but she's been dealing with the big picture, and I'm sure she'd welcome input from the rest of the community on it too. Because a lot of it does fall to her to figure out the debt side of it. What could we afford and when? Because we plan out several years in advance. So, yeah.
Can I add?
Yeah.
And just to add on to that, no new equipment is procured without its replacement being added to the end of the list. So if the life cycle of this piece of equipment is 10 years, at 10 years, it's put on the list of, we have to look at replacing this. And
That's
sometimes
like
we
the
do.
easy stuff, I think.
That's
Because you
every
can be
piece of
organized
equipment.
about it.
Yeah,
But a fire
exactly, so
truck's
we
expensive,
start.
which is-
Oh, I know.
Yeah, exactly. And then, and at that time, there's an escalation cost that's estimated and
Right.
it's put in for, we think it's gonna look.
Yeah,
And then every single year it's revisited.
Yeah.
Does this make, so Sharon's very deliberate. She
Yeah.
takes the department heads through that process and what's new, what's changed? Does this field need to have the turf redone? What's
Right.
what's the status
What's the
here? Does
status,
this
right.
piece need to, because we have to be responsible for all of the infrastructure and the capital equipment that we have. So, it's very deliberate and it's a rigorous annual process. And then it goes to town meeting and town meeting votes on it and accepts that as part of the capital
The
plan.
challenge with that is getting back to the fact that we don't have a capital planning committee and
Yeah.
some, as you were describing this, the financial forum we used to at least get together and do some of that. We didn't call it a capital planning project, but often that's why we're having a forum, because we had an unusual capital request. So what I feel, and that I felt this way for the last 4 years, is that we're not having any engagement in this. And when I say we, I mean the community's not having enough input into the capital plan.
And it's not, we're gonna be pushing out fire trucks, that's not what we're talking about.
No, I know.
Just
I know.
we get your point, we get your point. This is the way it was done,
Yeah.
this is what.
Yeah, that's
No,
what-
absolutely, absolutely, and I think the community has,
It was so much easier when we had no money.
so that's a piece, but also the community has expressed desires for more, what I'm gonna call community priorities, beyond just fire trucks and boilers and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So to the extent that that's gonna happen, I think we need to have a better process, a different and better process to handle that kind of stuff, figure out what they are. And if we end up having at different points in time, potentially different sources, we have Green Communities funds as an example. That ought to be playing into some of the things that we're talking about and how we set priorities. If at some point CPA became something that happened, that too would bring different kinds of funds. So, there are other pieces that could start to get added to this, that you just want to have a way to have the community engage in some of these discussions, have it less of a last minute, loud voice kind of activity, and more of a let's talk about it, let's figure it out, and these are the three, which one, what's two, what's three.
Okay. I think this was a good start. I would like to move on, please. Next, we have Pleasant Street Center discussion. I wanted to have this on again, and for the main reason to have an appraisal of the building. So Karen brought up a good point, that when we go to town meeting, we should know what the value of the building is. To me, it's sell, lease, keep. Those are the three buckets. I can't think of any others. So if I had a vote today, it would be keep, but I don't know if that would be lease or keep for us. That I don't know. But if I had a vote today, I would vote keep, not sell. So then I have two more choices to make. I have to make a choice from two choices. So, and we can, this shouldn't be a long discussion. Hopefully, this is our second time going at this, but I think as our town meeting approaches in a little over a month, we need to have some ammunition and inform town meeting. If May is a positive vote, what are we doing with this building, right? So, I think we'd all be in agreement to have an appraisal done of the building, a formal appraisal. And if there's any other input that we want to talk tonight, it's, that's not the only topic, but that was the main reason I put it on here, so we could discuss, kind of agree on that, authorize staff to have an appraisal done, which should give us enough time to get one before town meeting, and then we have a number. Because, maybe selling it is really attractive, I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know.
Yeah, so we've gone in that direction. Jane can give you a little bit of an update on the companies we've contacted, the pricing, how long it'll take, because I think that's right. An appraisal is right at this point. I outlined other, a couple meetings ago, other uses in terms of rental, lease, nonprofits and whatnot. So, but, we hear you loud and clear on the appraisal, so we're moving in that direction for sure, really fast.
Which town made it? They almost look the same as ours, but that one list
Oh,
pay.
Natick.
Natick turned
Center for the Arts.
into that,
Yep.
and
Yep.
not run by us, right? Not run by
Nonprofit.
not run by the town, but
Yep.
so there's definitely options, right? But then we have to step one, step two, whatever.
So I think a couple of things. One, I think the most important one is realizing that in building recal, that space is no longer, the PSC space is no longer required for the senior center because there'll be a new one.
Correct.
So that opens it up to different possibilities. And I think what people are asking is, I want to make sure that we've thought through the different aspects of what's going on with this, right? If we change this, what's going to happen? I don't know that we have to say, here's exactly what we're going to do with it.
No.
But I think it's to say, okay, we know that there are new opportunities. We, as a board, have talked about it. There are 3 or 4 that are on the table here right now. There's an appraisal. There was an estimate of rental income that could be achieved. There was an unsolicited proposal made
Redevelopment.
2 years ago that was kind of a keep and lease, I think is what it was, or keep part of it, lease part of it. Again, unsolicited, we didn't request anything, it came in, so that was the notion that, hey, some people see that there's, opportunity there. We know that it has some historic significance that might have value in terms of the keep side. What are the things that we could do that would make it a productive asset for the town and not so much a cost center?
Right. It'd be nice to offset some of the debt, of the building.
Yeah, or a la you just talked about Natick, right? So a designated, new kind of activity, back to this community priorities discussion, could it fit into that? Maybe not, but again, on the possibilities. But I think it's important that the community understand that it's not kind of sitting here saying, yeah, let's build a new center, and then, I don't know, I guess we'll have to think about the recalc of the old PSC building. We're very proactive on this thing. We're thinking through all the implications of it. The same way we're thinking through the implications of what are the costs of operating the center? What are the things that can happen at the center? What does that mean doesn't have to happen elsewhere because it's happening there? A la rec pays a lot of money in rental fees. Is that an offset? Again, that's the kind of stuff I think that we want to make sure when town meeting members ask it, there are pretty good answers available for it, or at least that's been thought about.
Thanks, Carlo. I vaguely remember the conversation with Simon's Way and town staff taking an initiative on that and it being negative yet here they are taking the initiative on this, and somehow it's positive. I agree both times were positive. So it's good to see that we're moving in that direction. I think for me, it comes down to the building is being replaced for a reason. You are moving everybody that's over there, as well as individuals in this building, over to the potential new recal site. We are eliminating all of the space required for the rec people here and veteran services, et cetera, moving it over there, moving the whole Pleasant Street thing over there. We're freeing up all this space. We have to recoup our money from this building. Point blank, end of discussion. We cannot be on the hook. It's being replaced because it's old, there's so many issues with it. People still complain about gas, the stove, whatever scenario that's happening over there is going to happen to somebody else. Whether we lease it or something, it's built into some lease, they have to cover the costs we have to do, it's gotta be somebody else's problem. We need to significantly offset the cost of this building, whatever it is, for this to be a positive outcome on the other end that we want. It's that clear. We can't be wishy-washy, flip-flop, et cetera, and then argue this at town meeting. It has to be clear and concise that this building is being replaced, as well as the individuals in the offices over here, and is going somewhere else. And we are going to do X, Y, Z to recover our money so that you can feel more confident in the vote that is coming forward. Because that's what you want. You don't want the Pleasant Street Center, you want the new building. I believe that's the consensus. So don't make the mistake of keeping it and doing whatever for the good and the more benefit and all of this. We're already doing that on the other end. So I am very firm on doing something with this. Whether it's leasing it out, absolutely, as long as it is a significant lease, not some hokey pokey joke thing that, that isn't gonna make up the money, like I said, on the back end. So that is where I am firm on this.
Could I just add, so when we were looking at the dollar store, which was in fact open, there was an appraisal done. So and you all went to see the building, which is across the parking lot. So I mean, we know this is a valuable asset, but I don't sure, that might be something that would be helpful for you as you're going through this appraisal process to pull up that appraisal. I believe we discussed it in executive session. I don't know that we ever released it to the public, but we did do one.
That's all.
Yeah, we will review that.
Yes.
Yeah, is that what you remember?
We did do one, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
we
I
did.
think it was an executive session, I don't think.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, so I think we need to probably have at least one more meeting before town meeting. And I think we should give an update at April town meeting to what we're thinking, but maybe something more formal at November town meeting is my guess, because we're not gonna be ready. But I'll put that, I'll insert that somewhere as a placeholder for the, before town meeting. We have that meeting on the first, well, I'll discuss that later. Okay.
Jane had a comment too.
Okay. Who? Oh, yeah.
And Jane can go first, and then.
So I've reached out to, I think, 5 companies now. I've spoken to 2. I hope to hear from another one tomorrow, and I'll have quotes back on the variety of commercial market value and rental market value that we can potentially achieve for that site. So I'm hoping, because of the timeline and trying to bring this in before town meeting, that we could ink that contract next week.
Yeah, just let us know.
Yeah, once I have the different amounts and so forth, and then we'll kind of see what makes the most sense for us.
Chris?
Thanks, Carlo. So I understand that town meeting authorizes the money in town up to a certain point. Obviously, we play minimal roles in the day-to-day kind of stuff. Town meeting authorizes the money. Who's responsible then for this building? is it the select board, like I believe that it is? Whatever gets done with the existing Pleasant Street Center, does that fall onto us?
Yes, because it's a town building. You're in charge of town property.
Like sell, lease, keep. Yeah,
Correct.
I guess it would
So
be,
you would have to essentially surplus it like anything else, and then you could get, so if you wanted to sell it, you know, if you wanted to lease it, we can just work through town staff to do that with your consent, so.
The town meeting have to authorize sale of real estate, or control of real estate to some extent. You'll figure out the details.
We'll figure it out, yeah, I mean, certain, maybe over a certain price.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna go
No,
to
it's-
town.
But it's the,
Yeah.
you know, the select board will certainly have a say.
it starts here.
Yeah.
No, because Oakland Road is us. And I understand that's
Town meeting
land.
gave us that authorization, but we have to put a warrant in front of town meeting to do it, so it's a, you know, it's a back and
Yeah.
forth, it's a circular
Deed to
process.
Oakland Road was us anyway.
Who do you think gave us permission to do that? It was town meeting. That's all. And I wasn't part of that, that's what we were told.
Yeah.
At least I
I
don't
guess we would
remember
We
it.
can get a clear answer.
Clarification.
All right, yeah, well,
Yeah, I can talk to town council about the actual process, but you as the select board will have a big say in it. And when it becomes town property, you have a very large say in it, so.
yeah,
And, you know, trying to save maybe some money, should we go back to the company we used to do the appraisal for?
Yes, I concur, and I reached out to them very recently.
Just, I don't know if it will save us money.
Well, you know, Ms. Herrick helped me with that contact, and they know the town. And they haven't done most recent commercial appraisal for a parcel, so for us, so it makes really good sense to get back, so that's who I'm hoping to hear from tomorrow.
all right.
Because
Next.
one quick
Oh,
point, so it'll cost X. Would that come from some existing town fund? Is that what we would do to make that happen? So in other
Yeah.
words, if it's, you want it inked, what's required to ink it?
Yeah, we would have to, I mean,
Gotta make sure we have.
I'll talk to,
Yeah, you gotta make sure you got the money.
Sharon about that, but yeah, we would pay
I'm gonna
for
talk to
it.
Sharon.
Okay, thank you.
I'm soliciting quotes and
Yeah.
competitive information and.
Parker need another roof or something that we can just keep using that.
I wish, yeah.
All right, next is vote to appoint town accountant. I say yes, let's go to the motion. I'm just kidding. Well, it doesn't say discuss, it just says vote, so we can just go to the motion and then discuss.
Who made that agenda item?
What?
Just says vote.
I know, not me.
No.
I'm just noticing it now. But we're gonna discuss it. Let's make the motion and then second and then discuss. Good, good.
Move to appoint Sharon Angstrom as town accountant for a term July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Yes.
He's first.
Oh, Chris.
I beat Mark this time.
All right.
This is once again a resounding yes for me. Sharon Angstrom does a stellar job in this town. She handled all the questions at the finance committee the other night with class and candor and whatever adjectives and synonyms, thesauruses you want to use. But no, Sharon is great, and I hope she stays here until I'm gone. So whenever that
Maybe
is.
even beyond.
Maybe even beyond.
Thanks. So Sharon has been the accountant for how many years?
15, longer than me, 15, 16 years, I want to say.
Yeah, so I think she came in,
She started after me.
so what does that put it in timing? Is it,
So I've been here 15 years and she started after me, so.
okay, so
She started before me, and
Not
I've been
quite.
10 years, so somewhere in the.
10 to 15. So
Right.
my point being,
Early 2000s.
she started out pretty green, I would say. But she got a lot of support initially from some previous town managers in particular, and then has grown into this role really, really well. I have full confidence that she has command of what's going on and kind of how to give us advice, how to make sure that we don't get into too much financial trouble at least. And I think that's great, and I think she's a real asset and somebody that it's important to support and keep her in the town.
I agree. I think we're very fortunate as a community because, I know there's communities that run well and not run well. And, I think we're fortunate to have Sharon, and Sharon wanted to stay. That's another big part of it. We're not She seems very committed and does a lot for us. Anyone else?
I concur with my colleagues. I would love to see Sharon continue with us for many years.
All right, all those in favor? 5-0. Excellent. Yes, every year. Future agendas. April 1st, we are not adding anything, just FYI.
You gotta go to like page like 600 to.
Yeah, unless it's
225.
Unless it's an emergency, we're not adding anything.
Oh, God.
It looks lengthy, but a lot of it's quick stuff.
Yeah, some of it we can get.
Some of it's quick.
Not an April Fool's joke.
Yeah. That is my 3-year anniversary of my shoulder surgery, so just so you know.
Do we celebrate that?
I think so. We're gonna have cake for me and for Mark.
Perfect. You first.
So April 1st is pretty jam-packed. April 22nd is, I really haven't, we haven't really talked much other than what you see in there about beyond the 22nd. The 22nd is after the election and before. Oh, that's a good note. Sorry, guys. That is school vacation. The 22nd. Of the 2 members with children, is that going to be a problem? Because we could move it to the 15th. If the 22nd is April vacation.
Well, the residents of the town re-elect me, which I hope they do. I'm gonna be away both dates.
Okay, both dates.
Yes.
Okay.
The way my kids' school vacation works,
Okay.
we're gone the 15th to the 22nd.
Christopher?
I think Autumn's going to Amsterdam with her mother, so I think I am good.
Oh, wow, good for her. Wow. You guys?
Oh, no, Mexico? I don't know.
Whatever.
She's going somewhere.
Not relevant to this discussion.
Well, okay, we'll get the kid part out of the way.
Somewhere.
By the way, we have kids, we just don't have school age.
Do you have a senior retreat to go to or anything like that?
I'm supposed to sponsor somebody who's gonna be a member soon.
2 years, 2 whole years. That's a long time. A long time, 2 years.
You joined AARP at 50, right?
In pickleball years, that's like 7 years, 2 years of regular years. All right, so I'm okay putting it to the 15th or we can leave it to 22nd. I am totally open since I'm in control of the agenda right now. What the board wants to do. I am fine, I'm not traveling. I'm fine either way. If anyone wants to keep
What
it.
happens with, if it gets moved to 4:15, does that bump all other meetings? Or does it not?
No, it would go 4:15 right to May, it would be a month, because we have town meeting. It wouldn't bump, no.
Doesn't really sound like there's a reason we need to move it.
Yeah, I'm just
I don't have
asking,
one.
yeah.
There might be a benefit, so having it closer to town meeting might be a benefit?
Yeah, I just.
Okay, what day is town meeting again?
28th.
Okay,
Start
as
the
long as it's not the next day.
All right, so we can leave it, no problem, 22nd. And so that takes care of that. So all I have, I think we all got it, correct me if I'm wrong. Bill Brown sent us.
I had a hard time reading that.
Yeah, well, Will deciphered it and Matt and Danny deciphered it because I couldn't read it either. But it was
His handwritten, that was lovely.
no, listen, he was right. Whatever you wrote was right, as far as our flags go. And it's gonna be more of a policy decision, I think, or more, it's.
The point was that we fly the flag of the Commonwealth and the American flag in this room, and in the common, we fly just the American flag. And if you read the law that he's referring to.
Mass General Law.
Yeah, it seems to say that both flags have to be flown. And it talks about in good weather, that sort of thing.
And Will did a lot of, gives a lot of color on it.
So the way we.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, sorry, you're right, we're deliberating.
We're getting
Sorry.
So anyway, that's where it is.
So, I'm gonna put it on a future agenda,
Right.
sorry,
Right.
thank you.
And we'll have to look at it to see.
Yeah, so that's all I have, it's like, was Big Bang Theory, flags, anyone else have Mark, do you have a parting part of the future agenda for us?
Just wait.
Doesn't mean I'll put it on, but
I think the Commissioner of Trust that's on there on April 1 would appreciate going early if that's doable. I see that the first item on there after liaison, if that's possible, that would be great. I know that they would appreciate that.
I don't wanna be here till 11.
you think, well,
Rational people.
let me ask you this, Mark. You think it will take long? Because I don't want Laura to come, wait till 9. It's not gonna be how long do you think I should budget for that? Half hour? Less?
Yeah, I think that probably 15 to 20 minutes for the descriptions of things and then board questions. And then I think that Neil can provide something next week. Ideally, maybe reach out to Neil Cohen. Just to ask him if he can kind of submit information in advance so the board can read it. That'll speed things up quite a bit, because there's pretty clear stuff.
Yeah, I just try to have staff on early as best as possible. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think 30 minutes is probably gonna cover it, and it may be that you send them back with homework, worst case.
Okay. All right.
So we were gonna have Burbank come in and talk to us.
Yeah,
And I
that's
don't
on
see
there. That's on there somewhere.
Where is it?
Right below trust funds.
Oh, is it early? I was looking out.
I think it's Sharon.
No, yes, update on Burbank funds, not the
Oh, I'm
lead.
sorry.
No,
that's
that's
the share.
not the meeting with, Burbank coming in and talk to us about
Right,
rental lease
right.
payments
That-
for the
that-
future
that-
and
I don't
their
know if we-
planning.
I don't
Can we
know
put that somewhere? Cause this is the
Yeah,
right time of
I
year.
thought we did. Hold
We're
on.
supposed to have an annual operational discussion meeting with them?
Yeah, it's right there. It's in June, May. It's there.
Well, having, okay, what day is it?
May 27th.
May 27th. It's on the second page.
Annual
It breaks.
Okay, that could work. We haven't done as part of a select board meeting ago, so you'll need a little time for that. Like, at least 30 minutes, if we keep it quick.
I'd imagine at least 30, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. We'll figure that out later. No. It's just an annual, how things are going.
It's in the lease, an annual operations
Funds, they have to,
discussion.
like RCTV is supposed to do it once a year, but we haven't done it, so it's like kind of like that. All right, so that's in there. Anything else from anybody? No? Good, minutes?
So, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
did you put the ADA discussion in there?
That's next week as well.
Are we gonna be ready?
Oh, it's a discussion, so I don't know.
Oh, all right, okay, fair enough. It's not next week, right? April 1st?
Yeah, one or 2 weeks. Yeah, the next meeting, our next meeting.
Okay, alrighty.
Do you want to have one more PSC discussion before town meeting, in which case?
Cause Mark wants to have it just be a standing item, like right after select board liaison reports.
I mean,
It was discussed.
I'd say if we had the appraisal and say yes, I think it's too early, my opinion. I think, I know it's important, but I think we're just gonna say the same things we said tonight, honestly. All right.
Maybe add it to the 22nd.
Yeah, I'll think about
And
it.
I can give you an update on how the appraisal's going and whatnot.
Sorry, I was thinking of the 22nd, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I lose all control after the first, so. I'll.
It does make sense to probably put it on.
I'll help. Yeah, it should be on the 22nd. I agree. It should be on the 22nd, and hopefully that's a month away. Hopefully we'll have something, but who knows? All right, on to minutes.
Yep.
Jackie, can you put the minutes up, please?
I thought they were good as written.
No, we had to make a correction. So I did watch the video. Yeah, remember last week we couldn't do the minutes?
Oh,
Oh, we
sorry.
didn't,
hold on.
I couldn't
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
how we wrapped that up.
Yeah, basically we said we'd watch the video, and if you go to our oh God, I cannot read that. What the heck is
It's
that?
Neon Day at Birch Meadow today.
I'm glad I was
Oh boy, what is that?
It's the Birch Meadow edit.
Oh, the green just doesn't show up very well.
It's really hard to see
Yeah, I
the green,
can't,
wow.
Disclosure.
Black.
All I know, it was said that we are commercial property owners, not business owners.
Correct.
So if that says that, we're good.
Yeah. So it's gonna be-
I don't know what that
It
says.
says commercial property.
Okay,
Oh, so it's commercial properties in town.
Into the record?
huh?
You wanna read it? We can read it into the record.
I just can't read it.
I can.
Can you read it?
Yeah, I
That would be
can see
great.
You want me to go, Matt?
Yeah, go
So it's a suggested revision. Taylor Gregory feels their character was attacked by members Bocce and Haley. They also feel Bocce has a conflict as a pickleball instructor and the lack of disclosure during pickleball-related business. Lastly, they feel Bocce and Haley both have conflicts and should not be voting on setting the tax rate because they both own commercial properties in town.
Yeah, that's fine. So we had to just change that last sentence really, but yeah.
I mean, you want me to read it right?
Yeah. So that was the edit that we didn't agree on or whatever, because I don't know, I don't know what was said. So there was that, and then I think one of you maybe had a minor change that we did or didn't do, no? Was that it? Yeah. All right, so let's go to the next one, please, Jackie. The fourth, I have nothing on that one. So. You have a,
Yep,
something minor? Or-
no.
Oh, you
Yeah,
sent
the
that in?
motion.
Oh, you have a motion, so we're all good? So we do, you wanna do them one by one or just say?
Well, one's amended, one's.
Yeah, one's not amended, all right, okay.
So move to approve the meeting minutes from February 18, 2025 as amended.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, 5-0, thank you.
Move to approve the meeting minutes from March 4th, 2025 as written.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, 5-0, thank you. That's a rare occasion on that one.
Motion to
And-
adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn, second. All those in favor, 5-0. Hold on, let me check my timestamp.
8:55.
We adjourn.